First point goes to Evert.
And Virginia, I'll be interested to see throughout this match if Chris Evert, the great tactician that she is, will concentrate her stroking on Sabatini's weaker forehand side.
Both players practiced on this court earlier today. Sabatini was out there for almost an hour.
Sabatini always practices a lot. She practices not only a long session before matches, but she usually works out after matches as well. And of course, all that hard work has been one of the reasons that she's improved so much.
You have to wonder in the long run, at such an early age, whether she will suffer the burnout syndrome that so many of the good young players have in the past.
If you're looking for serve and volley tennis, you aren't seeing it here.
Great point.
(30-15).
Well, Chris Evert really has a way of working her opponent over.
And if you were thinking that she might be playing Gabby's forehand, I think you're absolutely right. Well, at least that's what she's doing right in this point, exploring the forehand till she has the opening on these backhands, and then, as you say, finding an opening and making it.
From 30 all. That was right on the line.
Boy, that came down very quickly with that heavy topspin that she uses on the backhand side. I think it caught, well, take a look at this. I'm sure this really did catch Chris Evert by surprise. He was moving over there and I think felt that the ball was going to land wrong.
She did sort of quit, didn't she, before it bounced?
And we know she never quits.
It was close.
40-30.
Few whistles.
Game Sabatini. He opens up on serve. Chris Evert, the second game of this match. 1-love Sabatini. It's the first point of the second game. Gabby thought that was out. And so do most of the people in the stands.
You know, it is strange. We have a very good view on this line from where we're sitting, and I would have said, although it's impossible to see really from the monitor, that that ball did just miss the line, but we've already seen about 3 or 4 very close calls. Chris's serve, which we didn't have a look at, was looked as if it was a little long, but anyway.
Bill Kempfer from Toronto is the umpire of today's match.
He certainly couldn't have overruled that. That was way too close.
.30-love.
Well, it's not a bad idea to come in off some of Gabby's shots But Chris absolutely saw that she came in there. She had plenty of time to see that she hadn't got into the net, put the ball at her feet.
And Gabby didn't get in quickly enough. She was trapped.
Forty love.
And you can certainly see Chris's game plan is to hit very wide, sliced ball in most instances to Sabatini's backhand, draw her wide, and then hit her two-handed backhand down the opposite line, making Sabatini run a long way.
Game at love for Evert. Chris has won this tournament 4 times, 3 times when it was the Players' Challenge, and once way back in 1974 when it was still just called the Canadian Open.
And Peter, do you know who she beat in 1974? As a bit of trivia.
Don, your guess is as good as mine.
Tell you in a moment. Virginia's madly trying to
We're
look
scrambling
it up.
through the facts book here and can't find it. Love.
So, Don, who was it?
The answer was Julie Heldman. It was on clay courts at the Toronto Lawn Tennis Club.
Julie was always a tough player on
She
clay.
was. But that particular final was rather one-sided.
That would have been a 19-year-old Chris Evert that won that.
Well, it was the year both she and Jimmy Connors won at Wimbledon.
Just art.
30 love.
But just thinking of the long career that Chris has had, you know, it's very hard to say when one thought that she was at her peak, because she certainly is so good here. And here she comes in. She has to take these balls early. She gets a little bit bored in the middle of these rallies and can just go for too much like that. She's just missed a couple of balls by literally an inch or two.
Chris Evert going down the line perhaps one time too often. You see Sabatini scrambling to get that ball. Here Evert had the whole backhand side open, goes back down the same line, and Sabatini comes up with that good forehand pass. I was a little surprised at that, Virginia, that she went back down that line.
Game at love for Sabatini. They're on third. 2-1 Sabatini first set. This is Everett's service game. $15 love.
You know, Don, you say that, do you think that Gabriela's forehand is the weaker side? I think the construction of that shot is slightly weaker because she falls off backwards, but she has probably a little bit more power on that side. And, you know, she's become very tall and strong, and the power factor has always been quite considerable.
certainly hit some good forehands then, but
Well, she hit the short ball that she got so well, and I think it will come up the next shot from here. She's pushed Chris, she gets a very short ball, and she really rips that ball. And it was interesting when she was practicing this morning, Angel, her coach, was giving her so many of those short balls, opportunity to really put them away.
she seems to move in much better on the short forehand than she does from the baseline in the rallies.
Oh!
15-30. First double fault.
And Chris being pressurized a little more than she would like right now.
First break point of the match goes to Gabriela Sabatini. 15-40.
But having explored the forehand, now Chris is exploring the backhand, finding her way out here, ends up going for a little bit too much.
And this match has all the makings of a very long afternoon.
All their matches have been long. I have watched them play many times. I remember particularly a match in the French in '86 when Sabatini won the first set easily, 6-1, and then went on to lose.
Well, of their 7 meetings, 4 of them have been 3-setters.
Service break by Sabatini for a 3-1 lead first set.
In actual fact, it was when Gabriela Sabatini really arrived as a player, was in '85 at Amelia Island, when on national television she took the first set and really gave Chris a tussle. Then you knew that she was a contender.
Love.
What Gabriela certainly does do well is retrieve off the backhand side. Chris just pushing the ball constantly into the backhand on that point. But the ball comes back with underspin when Gabby is stretched wide.
Love.
Boy, she really stepped into that forehand. That was well hit.
each point having to be worked so hard for. And that's the shot that you said she stepped into so well, Don. Makes you wonder why she falls backwards on so many of the forehands, although usually she still manages to hit a very powerful ball.
(30-15).
One of the few unforced errors that Gabby has made.
And just a little look at Gabby's feet. Now, as she hits this forehand coming up here, it wasn't too bad, that one, but I'm sorry we didn't really manage to see the forehand, the footwork.
Well, she opened the court beautifully, simply just missed the shot.
30 all.
And those really are her favorite backhands, when she'll go cross court, and then suddenly she'll just rip that one down the line from really nowhere. Very hard to read.
Right on the line.
Twice in a row.
Another one.
40-30.
3 times lucky in 1 point.
Well, there's the unforced error. Actually, we haven't added the one on the backhand there by Evert on the last point, so she now has 10 compared to 5 for Sabatini. Sabatini holds service quite a bit. You know, baseline playing back side to side, and maybe the weather is getting to a little bit.
She's warm now. She was lucky she wasn't in Toronto last week.
This has been like heaven here.
But it has got hotter out there. There's an enormous crowd out here that have finally filled in, and it really has got considerably hotter just really since they've walked on court.
And very little wind. Still early in the match, of course, but as you can see, the service percentage once again means nothing, because although she has an 89% for serve, Chris Evert trails 4-1.
Another error from Chris, but the players insist that this court is not playing that fast, although I would imagine it's almost identical to the US Open coming up. And there's that short ball that Gabby has been working on and hitting so well, and it's really a ball that Chris maybe shouldn't have missed.
30-15.
30-15.
A crucial game for Chris Evert to win if she has any opportunity to salvage the opening set.
Well, that's the best point of the match.
A tremendous move by Chris Evert to fill the hole and get back in the court to make that short forehand. Good stretch volley by Sabatini. And look at that reach again, but Chris so quick.
40-15.
Sometimes a point like that can really pump you up and get you back in the match.
40-30.
It's good play. Well, I think that both players are absolutely right in this match, but I think the reason Chris has made more errors than Gabby is that she's frustrated by the constancy of Gabby's play and starts just going for a little bit too much. She doesn't really like having to be the aggressor out there.
Good retrieve. A lot of experience behind that winning shot.
4-2 in the set now for Sabatini.
Sabatini leads 4-2.
One service break came in game 4. Sabatini up 4-2.
There was excellent play from Chris. That time, Gabby really did play what almost looked like a tired forehand and got herself so out of position. Just here, watch her footwork. Watch the way that she falls back. And then Chris found the opening, although she had to hit an awfully good shot to get it past Gabby.
Hit it right off the line.
Very good play on this court. I think that Chris should probably try to do that a little bit more. Although, you know, you have to have the opportunity to do it, and that is to bring the ball down early and low on Gabriela's backhand, not on the forehand side, on the backhand side.
Love 30.
Well, she looked very lazy trying to move up to that short backhand.
Oh, Chris, she had played the point so well.
Again
And
strong, 15-30.
Gabby certainly did show a little sign there of tiredness, very short second serve. I think a lot of the fatigue comes from the nervous involvement as well. I think she's very pumped up for this match. She's only played one tournament since Wimbledon, which was last week.
15-30. Chris has not had a break point in the match. She has her first break point now. 15-40.
You know, that was interesting because Chris knew that when Gabby was coming in, it was going to be down the line, and Chris Evert was waiting for it, as you'll see here in this replay. Couldn't see there because it was the attempted high backhand volley, one of the toughest shots in the game.
And Chris always a pass master of that little sliding lob that goes over your backhand side.
Oh, what a shot by Sabatini!
What can you say about that? What a shot.
Well, I wouldn't like to try this because it's the hardest shot in the world to do. Chris had to leave, but it looked as if it was going out. But there was barely a flicker. She put her hand up in acknowledgement. Obviously, she was thrilled.
Shades of Yannick Noah.
30-40, still a break point for Chris. Well, the
Good
miracle
game,
shot doesn't
Evert.
help because serving, hoping to tie this first set. It's 4-3 Sabatini. Love 15.
0 games, love 15.
Sabatini moving very well in the backcourt.
Very early in the match, of course, Evert's had 2 break points. Sabatini 1. Each of them has managed to get 1 break. All.
Games number 2, 15 all.
That was that low ball to the backhand again. It wasn't the best shot that Chris had hit, but it still got an error for her.
Perhaps not the time for Sabatini to attempt a drop shot.
Few groans coming from Gabriela as she hits the ball, but even in practice she does that. I suppose that as you hit the ball and exhale, you get that little bit extra punishment on it, a little power.
Get
40-15. You know, 2 girls left in this competition in the semifinals. Natalia Zvereva and Gabriela Sabatini have a chance to become the youngest ever champion of this event. Tracy Austin won it in 1981 when she was 18 years and 8 months. Zvereva's only 17, just turned 17. Sabatini's 18. Conversely, Chris is already the oldest to have ever won it, so it stands to reason that she can just push that age up a little bit.
10 game, Evert.
4-all, first set.
Catherine jumping to 4 games all.
Chris has won the last 3 games.
And that last one was very important. Chris sort of waits for the storm to abate a bit.
She sort of just wears you down, doesn't she? That was just a great point.
First point of the game, but Chris ran the marathon.
Well, it had absolutely everything in it. It had short angles, it had deep balls, it had half volleys. Way out of court there, Chris. Manages to hustle all the way back there. Hits a very good shot and a little flick shot from Gabby. Fantastic play. What a good point.
Thirty love.
Front 0, 30 love.
Gabby getting a lot of good, solid first serves in play in the last couple of games. Moving briskly to the net, but doesn't have to make a volley.
You were mentioning the fact that the fatigue factor earlier and the burnout factor, Don, but she seems to be more muscular than some of the other girls that I can think of that may have suffered that burnout syndrome, like Andrea Yeager perhaps, or Tracy.
I think that's right. She's actually a much stronger physical. The skeletal part of her body is much stronger, and so it made an effect her. But she often, in the last few years, has got tired in matches, and that could just be because she's young. But she also seems to carry on playing, even though she does look as if she's dying out there.
Boy Love, she served the love game in game 3 of the set. 5-4 lead over Chris Evert, almost twice her age. Gabby ranked 5th in the world right now. Love 15.
And they have new balls this game, and the ball's definitely moving through the air a little faster. It was the right place for Chris to go, but she misjudged that shot. She's suddenly thrown in too many errors in the last game.
Well, she had to work so hard to come from 1-4 to 4-all. Just may have let up a bit. Although Sabatini certainly played a good 4-all game.
15-all. Chris way out of the court.
And that's a great shot from
Just
Gabriela.
An unbelievable shot by Sabatini. Such heavy topspin on that short angled backhand. We'll take a look at that again. I'm not sure she meant to get quite that angle on it, but it was a beautiful shot.
All.
Well, I'm sure Chris was quite relieved to see an error from Gabby. It's getting a bit serious here.
Excuse me, there have really been very few unforced errors off the racket of Gabriela Sabatini.
She only had 10 unforced errors in the match. 7 off the backhand, 3 off the forehand. There's one for Chris off the forehand, and it sets up set point for Sabatini. Sabatini breaks for the first set.
game, first set, Sabatini.
6 games to 4 in the set for Gabriela Sabatini, and she now serves to open set number 2.
Sabatini is the only player this year to have beaten Steffi Graf, and she's done it twice. Would be a reason why. Thought that was a good overrule.
Yeah, she knew she made a mistake.
Lifted her hand as soon as she made the call. I don't know if you can see in the screen as we watch this. You won't be able to in this angle, but it's definitely in. And the umpire, who's just off to the right of the picture, as soon as she called out, realized she made a mistake and held up her hand. There was an immediate overrule.
She just really called before the ball bounced.
So they just play a let, and it's first point.
Oh, well,
And
Chris
a
got
double
a little lucky
fault.
there. Just her first double fault.
Last week in Los Angeles, Chris lost the first set 6-2 and came storming back for a 6-1, 6-1 victory.
Oh, yes,
And
good
sparkle.
serve. First ace also of the match, but they said that the court was very fast in Los Angeles, which would probably favor Chris, although one doesn't automatically think of her being the superior fast court player. But she doesn't really like playing Gabby when the ball takes so much spin as this one does. And what makes me assume that is that when she lost to Gabriela earlier this year at Boca Raton, which was actually the tournament that Gabriela continued to win, beating Steffi in the final, Chris, the court was very slow and very rough, and it was taking a tremendous amount of spin, and Chris just didn't play all that good a match against Gabby.
Well, although Chris lost the point, I'm surprised that she hasn't tried to drop shot Sabatini more often. But Sabatini moving very well forward to play this drop shot for a winner back down the line.
The ball just sat up way too much for a drop shot. It just ended up by being quite a nice shot to hit. That's the shot. That one, if you can keep it low, it seems that on this court, the ball just actually dies there.
Ball skids a little bit.
Whereas all the others sit up. As you will watch, she hits it very early, and the ball just doesn't seem to get through. And if you could actually employ that shot on purpose, it's almost as if it's a shot that wouldn't be the best shot, normally speaking.
Doesn't look like a good shot. But against Sabatini, I think what you're saying, Virginia, it's a very effective shot.
Certainly is.
40-30.
Gabriela took a long time before she hit this serve.
Ball was long. Game 17.
Welcome back to Jerry Tennis Stadium in Montreal. Peter Young with Virginia Wade and Don Fontana. We're in the second set of this semifinal. Chris Evert serving for the first time in the second set. She trails 1-love.
Well, Chris has got to do a little more than she has been doing. You see, she's got such a high service percentage, but they haven't really been capitalizing on that. But it's the errors that are the problem. she's got she isn't beating Gabby at the moment by just staying with her. Gabriela's just doing a little more with her ground strokes.
Chris is having really a difficult time today trying to handle that high topspin of Sabatini's. Virginia, I think that Chris is going to have to become far more aggressive if she's going to pull this match out.
And as you see, this Chris actually finally did hit a more aggressive shot, and then she took advantage of it with that very good drive volley. But she's got to be more aggressive, I think, by doing something slightly different. She can't just hit harder up and down the court, because Gabriela isn't minding that at all. And it is that heavy topspin that Gabby puts on that worries Chris. Oh, yes.
An incredible shot off the racket of Chris Evert.
The ball didn't even cross the net in the court, I don't think. On the way back to the team back in and caught the corner.
Well, most players wouldn't even have gotten to this ball, but she's entirely out of the court. Not only does she get it back, but it's a winner.
Good game from Chris.
1-all, second set.
And jump part 2, 1 game all.
I'm quite sure that when Chris knows she has to play against Gabriela, she knows that she has a long match on her hands. And certainly mostly in the past, it's been the fatigue factor that has won Chris the matches. She just lasts much better than Gabriela does. Although by the same token, I think Gabriela has got fitter and more determined and stays in longer.
Can 0, 15 love.
15 love.
I would say some of the best opportunities Chris has to make a really attacking shot are of some of these short second serves that Gabby's putting in. That one nearly bounced twice.
Excuse me, she has not done it once yet. Good first serve by Sabatini.
Thrown 0.
30 love.
Gabby has worked so hard on the service action of hers. She's been improving steadily since she's been working with the pro that she works with. Bad shot.
40 love.
And the man that Gabriela works with is Angel Jimenez, who was a Spanish Davis Cup player, but he's very, very small. He's way smaller than she is. He stands on a chair to serve to her.
You don't really think of him teaching Gabby a big serve.
But it actually is the service action, which is the one thing that I don't think he's had so much effect on her. It does have a little bit of a hitch in it, which has got more exaggerated rather than less. Bad luck.
40-30.
Get on strong.
Don't believe there's been a deuce game yet.
But a lot of very long and grueling points. little two-handed drop volley off the racket of Chris Evert. Look at this shot. What fine touch. But Sabatini comes steaming in, trying for the cross-court winner. And that had to unnerve Chris a little bit.
Yeah, but it also winded Gabby a bit. But that sort of endeavor, that effort to run to the drop shots is what has won her an awful lot of matches in the last 2 years. And particularly what comes to mind is when she's played Martina, because Martina employs that sort of little drop shot against her. And when she first started beating Martina, she would just
Time violation, 17,
Yep.
live game 1.
Well, there you have it. The first time we've seen that happen. She took longer than the 30 seconds allowed and got a violation.
Well, Virginia, you certainly were right. She is winded.
She does take a wee bit too much time then.
Avantage. Yes.
Well, it
Advantage.
didn't do anybody any good, that.
Advantage Sabatini.
Chris absolutely looking disgusted that she missed that shot, and it probably threw her off a little bit more than Gabriela.
Advantage Sabatini. 1-all second set.
Very nice.
Hughes.
A very crisp overhead by Chris Evert.
Galate deuce.
Sabatini a little upset at herself. You can bet that she'll be thinking about serving a little bit quicker. One warning already for delay of play.
Oh, took her chance again and missed it.
Advantage Sabatini.
Just wide, but Evert was drawn completely into the doubles alley to attempt that two-hander down the line. I think she's really got to take advantage of Gabby's short second serve. All she's doing is putting the ball in play, and that's not putting any pressure on Sabatini.
I agree with you.
Navratilova and knocked her from this competition.
Zero cans.
She didn't just beat her either. It was 6-1, 6-4. The first set, she was 5-love up before Martina got a game.
And she was sitting with her coach, Olga Morozova, who I think you must have played against a few times, Virginia.
Oh yeah, we were a big doubles team too.
All.
And I'm sure that both of these players out here today were sort of expecting Martina to be in the other side of the draw, that the winner of this one would come through to play Martina. And so suddenly the prospect is just totally different. It actually can sometimes cause a little bit of a let-up in your preparation.
30-15.
Throw cans.
Probably the
30-15.
first really bad shot that Sabatini has hit throughout this match. She she has been very steady.
Very tight, hasn't she?
Good percentage tennis. The same type of tennis she played to dispatch Laurie McNeil, 6-3, 6-3 in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Did you see how Chris jumped at that first ball? It had so much bite on it, topspin.
30 all.
30 all.
Chris beat her in the final in 3 sets last week. But Gabriela has had an excellent year.
That's out, 40-30.
Sabatini had a good opportunity earlier in this point
Get
to
on her.
have moved in to make the volley, and then she went back.
Chris's serve, which has always been a very well-produced serve, but not her biggest weapon. But high percentage today of her serves.
Jeff game, Evert.
Chris holds 2-all second set.
You know, you could really see Sabatini becoming a little weary as that particular point progressed.
The thing is with Gabriela is that she goes through stages when she looks as if she's really too tired to continue playing, and then somehow she always gets out of it. So it must be very difficult to play against her when that happens.
Zero.
Beautiful shot.
Lovely team.
Just clicked the outside edge of the line.
Kansberg 2.
15 all.
I just don't know where that error came from. There was no reason, and normally one never considers Chris as giving away freebies.
I think there's a lot of pressure on her today.
And Don, you mean just the power of Gabriela's game?
I think just the fact that Sabatini has been so steady from the baseline and has refused to crack. And Chris has never been ahead in this match from the beginning. Sabatini started serving, held. It's going to be wide.
30 all.
Round for 2, 30 all.
And at this stage, again, talking about the fatigue, just as Gabriela does look a little bit more tired, it's really a good opportunity for Chris to try to assert herself.
Here's where Chris should step inside the baseline and crack a return.
Not a bad idea.
Break point for
I
Chris.
think it was a desperation shot by Sabatini.
Just not wanting to stay in that particular point any longer. But just thinking again of that second serve, which tends to be a bit short, I mean, I would never presume to criticize Chris, but it is one thing that she does seem to be content to do, is just to not take advantage of the shorter second serve.
No, she's just getting the ball back in play, not putting pressure on Sabatini.
Yet if you serve and volley against her, she will crunch it. Another second serve.
Deuce. They're both left at the net.
Well, Gabriela got a little bit lucky on this shot because it so easily could have gone wide, and it ended up by being a virtually impossible shot for Chris to do anything other than she did with it. She did well to get to it. That was really her only choice because it was already low. She couldn't really hit it over the high part of the net.
No, it was too difficult for her to go down the line.
Advantage, Sabatini.
Advantage, Sabatini.
I'm sure that point Chris will remember after this match, should she not win it, because that was a golden opportunity to break serve.
She trails 3-2. They're on serve in this second set. Evert down a set.
You know, when you see Chris play a point like that, which was so good, you feel she could have been stepping in and taking the balls a little earlier.
There's
That's-
your husband,
yeah,
Andy Mill, on the
and
right, and
her practice partner.
Practice partner on the left.
Jay DeLuey.
The last point just showed you the mental toughness that Chris Evert has. I mean, she's never going to give up.
She
You're gonna have
certainly
to,
isn't.
excuse me, you're going to have to beat her.
Some people may ask why Chris Evert does not change her name to Chris Evert Mill now that she's remarried.
Another fantastic point from Chris.
The answer is that her endorsement contracts stipulate that she's Chris Evert in those contracts to a certain extent until those contracts expire, and she's thinking about changing her name afterwards.
And Chris had just managed to also on that point take the ball on the rise, and she's loosened up a little bit with her strokes. Got in and had an easy volley.
Good luck. 30-15.
You know, Don, that shot works for both players. Gabby hit that's the shot that works on this court. And Gabby used it just to perfection there. Got Chris pushing, reaching for the ball. Easy victim for a lob.
Bad luck stays on this side. 30 all.
30 all.
And Evert does not get the same luck that Sabatini had in the last game.
Pretty high numbers for Chris Evert on the left side. 25 unforced errors. Some correlation done, almost twice the age and almost twice the unforced errors.
I'm not sure about your arithmetic.
Get on strong.
Well, we were speaking of unforced errors, and there
40-50.
certainly have been few off the backhand of Sabatini. But it's starting to get down to crunch time.
40-30.
Oh, what a marvelous running forehand by Chris Evert.
She holds serve and it's tied 3-all. Second set.
And she was just so far out of position. Gabby did exactly the right thing.
3 games all.
But how can you compete with that sort of shot from Chris? So it's certainly not over, this match yet. 3 games all. Big game.
We're up to that all-important 7th game of the set.
Can 0.
Just as I thought Chris was hitting the ball a little more smoothly, a little easier, she threw in that error. The wind has picked up a touch. Yesterday they were floating out exactly like that one. Not from Chris though.
30
Good play.
Strong 0.
Sabatini is playing with a great deal of confidence. Now watch her move in and take a full swing forehand volley. Not afraid either, Virginia, to go for a big first service.
No. Just out.
Strong cans.
30-15.
At no time in this match has Chris Evert been able to dominate her younger opponent.
I remember when she played that really strenuous match against her in Paris 2 years ago. She won, but she took 3 sets to win, Chris. So well off both sides.
Get on cans.
We've seen her take Chris way out of court on the backhand side, but there she does it on the forehand side, leaves a gaping hole. I was going to say when Chris beat her, and that was over 2 years ago, so Gabby was just 16. Chris came off saying how strong Gabby was, how hard she hit the ball.
Well, her game is not particularly pretty, but it's certainly effective. That was the first time in the match that Chris Evert has done something with a second service of Sabatini.
40-30.
Gabriela's string popped in the middle of that rally, and so she had to take a chance, get into the net, and actually hit a good shot. Chris did well to make such a good passing shot. Actually, I'm sure Chris would prefer to see Gabriela at the net a little bit more. When she played Helena Sukova yesterday, she was just pounding passing shots. Played a virtually perfect match.
Oof. Won that match against Sukova 6-2 and 6-1. An awesome display of solid tennis.
2 errors. Oh, yes, that's a brilliant shot.
Down a game, 4-3 Sabatini. Look at that, $8,331,000 in a career. Pretty even set. They've each won 24 points, and it's 4-3 Sabatini. Sabatini now has one more.
0 pins. 11-15.
No breaks, but a break here by Sabatini could dictate the outcome.
Time's running out for Chris. She still hasn't found the answer to Gabriela today. Good shot.
Love 30. Sabatini now only a point away from a break point, and they've been scarce in this second set.
30.
Last 2 games, Sabatini has been quick to take advantage of Evert's high balls and has come in to make some crucial and important balls.
$15-30.
Great effort by Gabriela retrieving those balls.
Can't smoke. 15-30.
Been very good defensively today.
Yeah, that's how she beats Steffi too. I mean, that's how she has beaten Steffi. She doesn't often beat her, but
But she plays her very close even when she doesn't beat her.
yeah, and she retrieves always so well off the backhand. Even when Steffi's absolutely pounding a forehand into the backhand corner, she just manages to still get them back.
Chris double fault to give Gabby a break point.
And that very likely was a case of nerves. The pressure has been on Evert from the outset.
Double break point. It would leave Sabatini serving for the match. Third straight fault. There's the break. Sabatini a game away from the match.
Sabatini leads 5-3.
Everett either breaks back here or it's over.
Gabriela has just definitely been the one who stepped up the pressure in the last game and a half. Much more aggressive.
On the line, so the next thing to do is put it up just as high.
A tremendous retrieve by Chris Evert to keep herself in the point.
Love 15.
But it was that lob that made it so difficult. Chris did well to actually get back for that, put up a good overhead, and she actually got a bonus there. It was about the easiest shot that Gabriela had had in that rally.
I'm surprised that Sabatini didn't attempt an overhead off that shot.
Event number 2.
15-all.
Same old story with that return of the second serve. It's a bit short. Chris tried to nail it, but she didn't really get forward to it, move forward to it.
(30-15), 2 points away.
And Sabatini really rushing Chris Evert on that point.
38-15.
Scoring with some really good volleys. And off balance, Chris Evert unable to keep the lob in court.
Point away,
Get on
40-15,
Cairns.
double match point.
40-15.
네, 仕掛けてますからね。
Too much.
サービスエース。最後はサービスエースでした。6-4、6-3でサバティーニがエバートを下して決勝進出を果たしました。しかしベテランの妙とそれを最後積極的なねネットへの詰めとかで、サバティーニもいいプレー見せました。
そうですね。まあこれでエバートに対する勝ち方はだいぶ確信をつかんできたんじゃないですかね。エバートの方はあれで失敗したからこの次はこうしようというまたもう今頃作戦考えてるかもしれませんけどね。
これで結局決勝はサバチーニズベレワになりました。この模様は来週お届けすることにいたします。
Gabriela, what's the difference between this week and last week in LA?
Well, I think that last week I was a little bit tired. I had a very tough match on the semis, and I play at night also, so in the final I was a little tired. I played very good the first set, but then couldn't run very much.
You know, you don't expect Chris to make as many unforced errors as she did out here today. Obviously, that helped you early in the match and made it end in 2 sets and instead of maybe not 3.
Well, I think today I played very good. That's why she made a lot of mistakes, I think. I think today I was better shape, and I play all the match, the right game.
You made an unbelievable point in the first set between the legs and over the net, clipped the line. You don't practice that very often, I'm sure.
No, sometimes I do it, and well, today worked very good.
You know, you have a chance now to become the youngest player ever to win this tournament. Any comparison towards Zvereva or Shriver as to who you'd like to meet in the final?
No, I don't know. I don't have any preference, and they're both playing very well. And well, I hope I can play like I did today and try to win the tournament.
Are we seeing an emergence of the new young breed now? Zvereva knocks off Martini yesterday. You eliminate Chrissy today.
I don't know. Maybe. I think there are a lot of young players that are coming, and that's good for tennis also.
Congratulations on this win today. We look forward to seeing